our job is so human. That's why I think it is really important for a human to stay in the loop. Right now, I'm limited to what my imagination is for helping myself. And I'm sure there's a million more ways that I could be more optimized in my role. But I know what my role is right now. I know what my pain points are. But I think at the end of the day, if founders are heavily relying on a computer bot to tell them, we should look at this profile, like, have you taken the time to read through it and decide if this is someone you want to spend your time with?
Welcome to Human First, the GTM hiring show. We're your hosts, Chris Gannon
and Danielle Parker
from Captivate Talent, and we're coming to you live in person from our studio in London. Most conversations about AI in recruiting sit at one of two extremes. Either it's going to automate everything, or it's going to make recruiters redundant, or it's a threat to candidate experience and should be used with extreme caution. Our guest today has a much more useful perspective, because she has actually built the workflows and she has been equally clear about the point at which AI has no business being involved. That combination is rarer than it sounds. Cassie Chao Leemans is the VP of Talent at Craft Ventures, a veteran recruiter who has scaled teams at Uber, Palantir, and Threads, and someone who has built her own AI-powered recruiting backend using Claude Code. Cassie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you've gained quite the following on LinkedIn with your crack the Claude Code for recruiting, I think some people would say. Talk to us a little bit about like what you're building and what you've built on Claude.
I'm a team of one at Craft when it comes to talent. There are many teams of one for talent partners in VC, and there's a lot of different expectations for our role. But a big one is maintaining a network, continuing to grow a network. But I recognize probably the hardest part of my role coming into the VC side from internal is we don't have an applicant tracking system. We have a CRM, just a massive Rolodex of everybody we've ever talked to. And it doesn't necessarily have to be candidates either. It's vendors like yourself, right? Search partners that we want to work with. And we have so much more rich data on these individuals as well. But the CRM I was using was so manual. Mm-hmm. And in order for me to go find the right people, it would take me several days, a couple hours for several days to go and click through, be like, who did I talk to just within the last 3 months? And I was finding out that I was getting really stuck on that component. And then, you'll get 5 different executive searches that come up at the same time. And while we are not held to making placements, we want to do our best for our portfolio companies. But it was such a pain to go into the CRM and just click through one by one. Oh, I talked to this person, but what did we talk about? Is their experience actually relevant to the company that's asking? And so I thought, well, my husband's building all these cool things with AI. I probably can build something too. And that's when he told me, just go ask Claude to set up Claude Code on your computer. Like, can you just set it up for me? And he's like, no, like, no. Claude can tell you how to do it. So I went to Claude.ai, just the browser base, said, my husband has this terminal window open on his computer always. He calls it Claude Code. I don't know what it is. How do I get started? Yeah. And it said, this is a great time for you to start. And piece by piece told me how to download the packages onto my computer, get it set up, open terminal, get things connected. And anytime that I got stuck, Claude would tell me what to do. And from there, I actually connected it to my former CRM. And that connection made me realize, wow, I now have an open door into all of the information inside of this database. And so from there, I said, well, I don't really need that CRM anymore. I can build my own database. And so since then, I have built my own CRM that is AI native. I can go in. Everything actually gets automated through AI, every conversation that I have. And now to pull information out of it is also Claude focused.
Yeah.
So what made you... Clearly, you didn't do this in like an hour.
No.
It took quite a bit of time. Where were you in the decision tree, or at any point were you in a build versus buy mode? Were you thinking like, is there something else out there that I can maybe just buy off the shelf that does this? Or what made you continue to build?
I would say the first 4 years of me being in VC, I've been in it for about 4.5 years now. And the first 4 years, I was looking for an alternative. And there were some tools out there. There was one everyone was raving about, and then they sunset, so then everyone lost their CRM. So there were piecemeal tools that people would utilize, or they would say, I'm using this one tool, but we have to run it through Google Sheets. And
Yeah, they all
we
have their own limitations.
Right. And everything was very list based. Like, let me put all of these candidates into a list, and then I will search that list later. But that still takes manual thought process of what did I call that list? How do I find this list 2 years from now?
How does it not go somewhere to like die in the Google Drive?
Exactly. And I know we were so big on Google Sheets for so long, right? But there's a limitation to it. It's not scalable whatsoever. And I decided, well, Claude Code seems really powerful. It can go into the CRM that I have. I realized how many API calls I was making at the time. And then I thought to myself, well, what can you actually see inside of the CRM? Can we pull this information out of it? And Claude was like, absolutely. Here's all the objects that I see. I'm like, what's an object? And I kind of just went down that rabbit hole.
So walk us through the back end. Like, what does it actually do? Does it identify candidates? Does it organize your inbox? Does it hire people for you?
Yeah.
It does not hire people for me. And
You're still involved in that?
I like being the human in the loop. It amplifies what I was already doing, right? But it mitigates that time that it took for me to click every profile one by one. Let's just take CFO, for example. That was a role I was working on for about 2.5 years. And anytime a CFO role came up, I would just type in CFO or like the tags that I have, finance. Okay, great. B2B, SaaS,
Numbers.
and all of the tags. We had 200 to 300 tags we would have to tag on every single profile of every person we spoke with. And we did have former teammates as well for other functions in the company. I don't know what their tagging nomenclature looked like or why they tagged certain things. So I'd have to guess if it was a non-CFO role, like a go-to-market role. Those were not my candidates. So I'd have to guess what they were tagging on the back end. So that was how I functioned, was literally typing in keywords of how I would come up with profiles to surface in my former CRM. I said, AI knows how to read text and it can understand semantics. How come I can't get that to work? And so the first time I ever posted on LinkedIn was after I connected to my former CRM, Claude Code, and said, Claude Code, I'm just going to give you a job description. Can you pull people that fit this job description and explain why you pulled them for me? And let's just time box this to people I've spoken to in the last 3 months. So I know that they're at least somewhat active, at least at the executive level. That tends to be the case. And it fed me 10 people and explained to me why.
Yeah.
I said, holy shit. Like, this is crazy.
Was that like the moment
that was
that you
the
were like,
moment
oh my
where
God.
I said, I don't have to manually go in and type in, read every single note because it has all that rich context already. And instead, AI was pulling out details from the conversations I was having with these candidates. Your candidate said, this is what they want to do. This is also the team size they've managed before, et cetera. While I would have had to glance over every single one of them one by one.
That's what I was going to say around like the CRM data. The way it's structured too is like, at least like, I mean, we use HubSpot and you're getting all that data from the conversations and it's not like you said, like in this like list format or like spreadsheet.
Right.
So like, how is that unlocked, I guess, finding better matches for your portfolio companies?
So it's still in a cell somewhat,
Yeah.
right? A database is just a collection of cells across tables. So I couldn't tell you how it is really built out. I understand the data structures. I keep asking it to optimize to get me faster results. So we will adjust the data structure on the back end. So it's not the way I tell people is it's not 100,000 cells on one table. And AI is like trying to read through and parse through everything.
Real quick, where is your data right now?
It's in Supabase. It is one of our portfolio companies. And I went to Claude and said, we have this portfolio company. I'm pretty sure it can solve one of my problems, but you let me know. And is this the right solution? And they said, for what you're doing, it might be an overkill. You might not need to do that. But I said, well, how much would it cost me? And he said, he or she, I don't know, it told me that from the data it could see inside my former CRM, I would be on the free tier of Supabase.
Yeah, Supabase is really powerful.
Yeah, and I thought, wait, how much am I paying for my CRM? And Supabase would be free. And so I did the calculation of what it was costing me to run my own CRM, and it was around like $125 a month. And it has this AI native functionality of which my CRM I was paying for did not have that. But yeah, all of my information is stored in Supabase. I finally upgraded to the next tier as well. There's a lot more security features. And then also I can continue I'm every single day having conversations, adding more and more information in there.
So if we think about like an earlier stage founder or revenue leader or any leader really, and you think about how they should be thinking about automating their recruiting workflow, like where should they start? What should they try to automate, bring in Claude for, and what should they stay away from?
On the recruiting side, I would say don't let AI make decisions for you. The way that I've built mine out is I've continued to ask it surface more and more. Like, okay, you can give me a short list of 10, but let's build out that aperture even more. Let's say, let's not get so granular on specific companies that align, but let's say industries. Let's keep expanding further and further. I know that there are certain cases in the US, especially right now, where people are trying to rely so much on AI tools making the decision for them. And that is really sketchy, in my opinion, because there's going to be false negatives, there's going to be false positives. You should still be the one to identify across the board, why is someone being filtered out? How can we see and train this model that this person actually could be a fit? There's something, I don't know how to describe it with the human in the loop, at least recruiting for the last 15 years. Sometimes you still have a gut reaction.
Yeah.
And especially the candidates we know, we've talked to before, right? We have that context that we've spoken with them, that we can make those decisions that maybe were not written down on paper or taken in by granola notes or MetaView or whatnot, that we can still add that additional context to that the bot cannot.
Yeah.
I always think my first job, if AI matched my resume to the job description, I wouldn't have gotten the job. Because I didn't hit all the qualifications.
Right, but even these days, candidates can use AI to match the resume to the job description.
Yeah, it's all, you can present perfectly.
Exactly.
Have you encountered any founders like trying to shortcut recruiting? Like, founders are notorious for trying to shortcut things and optimize their time. Do you think they're out there like feeding granola notes into AI and saying, should I hire this person?
Probably, to be honest. I actually... I was really briefly reading Slack messages from our group of talent leaders, and their difficulty is actually inbound right now because AI is so prevalent. Inbound has skyrocketed. I thought that's a nice problem to have, considering my last startup, we felt lucky if we got 5 applicants in 1 week.
Yeah.
We're like, yay, 5 people applied. Now it's 5,000 people applied overnight. And
all with perfect resumes and perfect applications.
And there's so much noise there as well. So I see a lot of them trying to stack rank profiles based off of that, and they'll just create a GPT within OpenAI that will stack rank or have Claude Code build something for them as well. But I haven't seen anything past the inbound stage. The only part that I am very wary about, and I'm seeing a lot of tools do this now, is when you set tools on autopilot to just go scour the web to be like, Chris, you had a blog about blah, blah, blah. It seems very framed, and it's how is the founder going to talk to you about that if they didn't even know they sent that to you, right?
Yeah.
So if you're like, yeah, I would love to chat with you, and you start bringing up like, what part of the blog did you like? And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like very disingenuous. There's an inauthenticity to it that I worry about in the recruiting side. And our job is so human. That's why I think it is really important for a human to stay in the loop.
Yeah, there's so many correlations between recruiting and go to market. We see that. I mean, I get those emails. I'm sure you get them all day. It's like, oh, I saw your post. Do you want to buy this? Or do you want to talk to me about this service? And like, those are going to fall short because everyone's doing them now.
Right.
Which is more important of having a human in the loop.
Yep.
That's why we still need them.
That's
Exactly.
why the podcast is called Human First.
Yes.
What about do you ever fear building too deep on one set of tools, and then we live in the world of venture and there's boom and bust, and sometimes bust happens and those tools could disappear, or one LLM leapfrogs another LLM and it's all of a sudden the better one? Like,
Or
is
one
that
model gets shut down.
yeah, one model gets shut
Shut
down over another? Does that ever keep you up at night? Like all of a
Well, I
sudden,
learned yesterday at your event that I can learn a new tool within 45 minutes.
and win a hackathon.
And win the hackathon. Cassie, our hackathon winner.
So I don't worry about that too much. And people have told me, oh, Codex now is so great. And it's really technical. If you're really building something out on code, you should try it. I did do that one evening. I switched over and said, let's try and build this out in Codex. Hey, Codex, this is where all of my information is in my repo on GitHub. And I started talking to it, and it was so technical and started doing things without me talking to it and not explaining it back to me. And I said, whoa, 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 what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing in
And I just decided I'm going to revert back to Claude Code. I went to Claude Code, said, revert everything back in our code base to 3 hours ago. And that's when I decided just use a tool that you are most comfortable with. And to me, that's Claude Code. It speaks in English to me. Terminal seems daunting to a lot of people, but actually over time, it seems very basic. You're just looking at this specific font.
Most
seems
of us
very
didn't know we had it.
Yeah, most of us didn't know. I think I'd run a couple commands. I remember growing up for sure in DOS having to run my video games through .exe. But did I just age myself? I don't know.
I was there too, so you're okay.
I learned HTML because I wanted to change my MySpace.
Oh, yes. Oh, I had a sparkly MySpace. So I guess it was always in me to build.
I had a custom fun background. Yeah.
And that's what I love about this is just everything that we've wanted is at our fingertips, just if you want to go and try. And AI will help you. It's constantly helping to get you set up correctly.
I think that's something that I love that you said yesterday at our event, just in terms of not even about AI, but just like you're like, I can do anything I put my mind to. And especially with AI now, that's so much more possible. And I liked your advice here for founders, or like, you're getting really overwhelmed of like automate all your recruiting workflows. And you had the advice of like, just pick one thing and just start there.
Yes.
And I think that really helps the AI.
It's your biggest pain point, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, how do you start? Of course, I could go on, and I feel right now I'm limited to what my imagination is for helping myself. And I'm sure there's a million more ways that I could be more optimized in my role. But I know what my role is right now. I know what my pain points are. Let's just start there. And the reason why I have so many conversations and I love going to events like yours yesterday is the more you talk to people, the more you realize, oh, wow, this person has another creative idea of how they're doing their role. And I start factoring that in of thinking, well, maybe I should build that out. And then you can go and do it when you get home.
Are you ever afraid, or do you ever fear, and maybe not for yourself, like that AI is going to dull the imagination or kind of just make us
For some people, yes.
not creative?
For some people, I do think so. I think I've already seen it when I've been posting on LinkedIn. People are like, just give me your prompt.
Yeah.
And they're not.
I think someone on our team said that to you too.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
It's okay. She's great. She wanted to jump into it.
Yes. And I think that in and of itself is you just want a solution, but you don't know what you're solving for.
Yeah.
And how do you know that what I've built is going to be good for you? And that's what I was telling everyone yesterday was I know this tool works for me and what my workflow is, and we can customize and build these bespoke tools based off of our needs now. But that doesn't necessarily mean, and people told me to sell the product. I'm like, how do you know you want it?
Yeah, because it's custom tailored to you. And that's the cool thing about AI.
Yeah, I think that's the problem that, recruiting systems are notoriously bad. Like, for some reason, like, especially on the agency side, like you get these systems that look archaic and they sprawl. And they start to have all these features and they turn into, and then they miss core features that are like so functionally important. because they're trying to do this little thing over here because one user wanted it. So
Yes, but I do have to say, someone had asked me, like, is it just you using it? Are there other people on the team? It is just me using my product right now. So the scalability functions, and this is where that buy or build conversation comes in, is do I want to think about permission settings? Do I want to think about if someone else runs into an issue, I have to solve it? No, like personally, that's not something I'd really care to do. And that's where these bigger SaaS businesses come in, is they have thought through these problems as a team and how they could solve it. Of course, they're trying to solve for hundreds of thousands of customers versus one person.
Well, let me ask you that. All right, the bosses at Kraft come back to you and say, Cassie, we're all in on talent. We want to add 4 to your team tomorrow. What does your tech stack look like then? Are you like, can you scale what you've built, or you
I probably could. I did create a single sign-on so that other Kraft members could sign in. They probably would have no idea what my product was doing, but there's probably functionalities I can build out for that. But I do remember we were very early adopters of Greenhouse at Uber. This was 2014. This was kind of when they were first starting. And the reason why we couldn't continue with them at the time was permission settings were very difficult for them. And so I definitely saw my own scorecards after I joined the company. And it's because I was on the recruiting team, right? And recruiting just had this full access to all of the information that had to do with the recruiting function. And we had to start telling them, hey, comp is in there. People on the recruiting team shouldn't be able to see other people's comp on the recruiting team. And it took them a while to build out those features. Of course, with AI, it could be faster to build that out, but you have to start thinking logically of who gets gate kept. And that type of logic is, I think, good for a team to solve through, not an individual that has other things they need to be doing.
Yeah, I remember years ago, how you upgraded the price of your product was you built features and then you sold them, and that is
single sign-on cost more.
We had a vendor last year try to sell us on single sign-on per user, and it was like kick rocks.
It took
no
me an hour to implement
yesterday.
that, which before it took a really long time to do that, and so I understand it took a team effort to build that out, but that effort is slowly going away.
Yeah.
I want to double click back into where we draw the line between AI and human around hiring. Like, what are the big no-go zones for AI for you around hiring?
I don't think it should be making decisions for teams at all. That's my hot take now. Maybe it'll change if the team consistently doesn't understand how to evaluate people and you have to at least get the data. But I think what I'm nervous about right now is founders or hiring managers and hiring teams putting in all of their scorecards. First, having AI write their scorecards after a conversation. I've seen that start to happen as well. Like, that's dangerous, guys. Should you not be the one evaluating? This person collaborated with me in this way versus an AI saying, these are signals that this person's collaborative. That's not your own definition or your own set of values of what it is.
Not doing the thinking work, too.
Exactly.
And it's really important.
Exactly. Otherwise, you might as well just hire a robot to work with you then.
Yeah.
They would be perfect, right? They will be literally everything you want them to be, but that's not why you pick the people that you work with. Is you're gelling together. You're getting to build something through your creative thought, right? And that's where AI lacks a little bit, is it just doesn't have this creativity and problem solving in the way that we do as a team. And so I do worry about that, where I am seeing scorecards now being written by AI, them feeding these scorecards into almost like a decision matrix of we should rate this as a yes and this is a no and whatnot. And no human is actually making that decision, or it's completely informing the team based off of their own objectives, which seem kind of subjective actually. And that's how they're starting to make hiring decisions. That is very concerning to me.
I think when it's lazy too, like, you have to remember it's a model that was trained on other data. Like, what is that training data? What are you training? Did you spend time training it to even think like you or make decisions like you? And if you're trying to make things move a little faster, I think that's okay. But if you're trying to just take yourself out of it.
I know. And I think there's that divide. I have not seen anyone except my husband. Actually, he's building a recruiting model of how he makes decisions on just paper. He does sourcing and he runs a sourcing firm. And how does he make decisions? And that gut instinct too, where you've seen a profile enough times of dependent on who you are calibrating them to, that hiring manager will say yes or no, right? And you can make decisions based off of that. But that is way more black and white because it is on just paper versus you having had 5, 10 conversations with a human. And there are so many people in the hiring process. How are you training it to every single person that's on the team? And I don't see teams making that type of effort to go and fine tune a model specific to their institution. So as much as they'd like to, but
it's almost counterintuitive. They're building it because they're trying to move so fast. So are they going to spend time and the hours and weeks to
it takes a lot.
train it the right way?
He's done it for months, just tons of data, thousands of profiles that he's going over that they're not really interviewing thousands of people over time. And I don't think they're actually even putting anything into a model for their decision making. So it's just random based off of Claude or what GPT says, right?
Speaking more like in what's called like front office go-to-market oriented roles, do you think you could hire somebody great with just using AI?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And especially, on the go-to-market side, so much of it is interpersonal skills. What is an AI going to say that this person can or cannot do when it doesn't understand those nuances as well?
Do you think that's the moat for go-to-market right now?
Possibly. I do. I think that you need to continue to be human. The way I look at AI is automating all the back end work, things that take a really long time, like scheduling. One of the first products I built was my scheduling prep. I don't want to go back through Gmail and see what were Chris and I going to talk about today. He wrote me an email. Let me go look that email up. Like, how can I pull all of that information together so that I don't need to spend my time doing that, but I'm having that conversation with Chris and I'm prepared for that conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So I think on that back end side, you can fully automate it, but continue to keep the human there. I think that's really important.
Kind of switching off AI a little bit, thinking about early stage founders, like when do they pull the trigger on hiring for a people or talent function? Like what stage should they be at?
I wrote about this for our founders and we posted it publicly on Croft's blog. But a big focus area for me is when the price is right. I think that's a big part of it. A lot of times we'll start getting the question of, do we need a founding recruiter right now? Like, how many more headcount do you have to hire and what roles are these? They said, we have 5 more. I'm like, you can't do 5 yourself?
Yeah.
And okay, if not, then what's the math? If you use a contingency IC firm, if it's engineers that you're looking for, if it's 5 more executives, what happens after those 5? Have you thought about what headcount looks like then? If they don't have any roadmap of scale after that, then they're just going to be burning money on having hired another recruiter on the team. Unless that recruiter wants to do something else. Like if they want to spin into the people side and they actually have nothing on people infrastructure, someone can do that. But I usually say recruiting should stick with recruiting if they're really good at it. And while you're scaling, just focus on that and make sure the team is well equipped to scale.
Yeah, and there's an argument too. If that person's going to switch into a people function, they're probably not the specialist that is going to lead you to the best people on the market.
Exactly. I try and decouple those roles. That's a personal opinion, especially when early stage is going to scale and they do hit that inflection point. You don't want someone spreading the line of, well, now I have to go deal with payroll. Like, no, you actually should be trying to close these candidates right now, right? So that's where I think.
Kind of going on that generalist specialist kind of line, where in a company's stage or cycle or life does a founder need to switch from hiring more of that generalist profile to a specialist across functions?
That's an interesting question. I think it's really dependent on what does the business need at that point in time. And I talk through this, and I've spoken about this on other podcasts before as well, is you need to know what you're hiring for in the business. And if you're just like, this person's great, we'll figure out what they'll do at the company. It only works for so long. And I've seen some amazing generalists, especially on the ops side. They can go in and do the payroll and people ops role and all the back office stuff They'll also figure out an external accounting firm to do all their bookkeeping. They're just so great.
They'll
being
help
a
you fundraise.
Yeah,
they can do
everything.
everything. And that's fantastic, but that's also not scalable, right? How long are you going to keep this person stretched across so many different things? When things start to break, that's a problem. Can they foresee before something's going to break that this is actually a really important need for my business and we can put some dollars towards that? And so that's where I think they need to be constantly vigilant in looking at what are the business goals, what are the business needs, and before anything breaks, we probably need to start spending some money here.
One of the things that drives me crazy is when they say, we just need somebody that's going to come in here and help us figure out go to market. And you're like, you need to figure that out.
You need to figure that out.
And then hire somebody to help you expand on that, not hire somebody to just figure it out.
If you are hitting that flywheel yourself, you don't necessarily need to bring in an expert. Now you bring in more of a junior associate that can come in and help with that back end work. Maybe that's also where AI can come and help amplify that individual as well, getting calls on the books, etc. But going like, this isn't my thing as a founder, and then trying to outsource it to bring in someone else in, that's a problem. Like you should understand all parts of your business, how to get it. Otherwise, how are you going to set up whoever you bring in for success? Because that person may fail if you have no idea what you need.
Yeah.
I see that a lot with marketers when they get brought in very early and they're like, oh, go figure out the ICP. And it's like, no, you need, like, I can articulate
Yeah,
it
why
for
did you build this product? Do you not
tell
know
me
who
these
you're
things.
selling to?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just set up to fail because, you know, like you need to know that.
Yeah.
Early go to market, you have to hire to accelerate, not to get out of it as a founder.
Yeah.
Right. That's
So-
the same with hiring, actually. So many founders think I'm going to hire a recruiter and that's going to solve my problems. I'm going to hire a search firm. That's going to solve all my problems. And we have many cases where even there is an in-house recruiting team, but maybe the founder wants to be more hands-on when it comes to the executive side. And then the founder disappears from meeting with search partners. I'm like, how do you expect to make a decision on this leader that's going to report to you if you aren't having those initial conversations with your candidates?
It's actually a question I wanted to ask you because you were pretty early at Threads, right? You were their first recruiter there. Talk about what a founder should be doing that early on when they do hire a recruiting function because many...
I love my Threads founders. Hi, guys. They are the epitome of what I would hope every founder is like when it comes to recruiting. I got so lucky that that was my first time ever being a founding recruiter, building out the function. They said, Cassie, you are the expert. We will listen to you. And it's okay if something doesn't work out. We will pivot really quickly, but we're going to rely on you and we'll listen to what you have to say. And I'm not saying that founders aren't allowed to have an opinion when it comes to hiring, but they were so bought in to what the recruiting process was. It made hiring so much easier. And that's the part where I don't think a lot of founders understand is they think they hire someone like me and then they're like, just run it and tell me the data that comes out of it. Like, how many did we hire? How many are like not making it through? And that's a problem. Like, you should be very invested in who you're bringing in. And I try to take off as many calls as I could as that initial call, which if I'm able to do that as a founding recruiter, great. But if we have a targeted list of shortlisted, very high profile, the people we absolutely want, my founders knew they are getting on the first call. We are a 15-person company, right? No one's leaving these, now it's research labs to come work at your small company if the founder is not the first person invested in having that conversation. And they're just thinking, oh, this other person, recruiter, go pitch my dream to this person and why they should come join my company. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, I've seen that mistake so many times, both being internal and at an agency. It's like they just kick it over to the recruiter. And many times that recruiter is somebody a bit on the junior side and they don't have the weight that the founder has when they're trying to really make those key hires.
I feel bad saying this, and it does take repetition because I was also one of those recruiters early at Palantir, early at Uber. I was that yes recruiter, and I'm always happy to be vulnerable about that is you just want to do your best. And I come up from that upbringing as well as like, I just want to hit my numbers. I want to exceed my numbers. I want that validation I'm doing a good job through my quota. But then I started realizing over time, especially at Uber, if I just kept saying yes to everything that the hiring manager wanted, I was actually hurting the team. And it didn't become like that real true light bulb moment of I need to stop teaching, like build the funnel until I got to threads. And that was my last startup where I had this light bulb moment because there were 7 people on the engineering team. You cannot inundate your engineering team if you're hiring engineers. We were trying to double the team as well. You can't inundate your engineers with hundreds of calls per week. They will not build a product then, right? So then it was very, very clear to me, my job is to reduce the amount of time that they have to talk to candidates, and that the time is so specific of who they're interviewing, why they're interviewing this person, are they prepared? So we did pre-briefs, we did debriefs, right? Everything mattered, and it mattered to the candidate too, that my interviewers were on, like they knew how to sell. The candidate journey was top notch. And so our close rate was over 90%. It was not AI time, right?
Yeah, that's
was
incredible.
Really big. But we would have to front load a lot of work, whether it's on the founders for that first call, myself, or the engineering leader. And the engineering leader said, I also want to protect my team's time. So I will take on more of the calls, and we will make what we called a skinny funnel, where more of the bulk is on the top, and who we think is qualified and actually wants to be here with us come through and do a working on site with us, which was a 1 or 2 day project. And every interaction that the candidate had, we wanted to make sure it was authentic to us. Our values were showing through. And I don't think that founders are taking the time to do that right now. They still find it's a transactional thing on recruiting when it shouldn't be. Like, all your interviewers should be treating candidates as peers already. This is your next coworker. And if you're not treating them like your next coworker, what are you doing?
And that gets around fast, especially
Very,
the
very
top-notch
fast.
people. They're going to know the experience.
I saw the CEO or co-founder of Warby Parker speak a couple weeks ago and talked about how he still interviews executives because he knows that up-levels his team's funnel. Like, they know that they're going to make it to him, and he's still involved in the hiring process. And so many founders try to shortcut recruiting too and get out early.
Yeah.
Cassie, in terms of thinking about those early stage founders, what's one thing that they should do on the AI side to help improve their workflow from a recruiting perspective? And what's one thing that they shouldn't do? We've talked about this a little bit, but like, what are your kind of hard recommendations?
What they should do with AI, automate that annoying back-end work. If you're repeating a step over and over again, for me, it was, let me click open every single Google Calendar invite, open every LinkedIn that I'm talking to today, and then having to click on this Chrome extension to input it into my CRM. All these tiny little tasks that I was doing throughout the day that was just eating up. Here's a minute. Here's 5 minutes. Oh, let me type in the person's email so that I know the context we're talking about, right? If there's these little tasks that you don't need to be doing, that's what I would automate out. The way I think about it, even in recruiting, is can calls be, not calls, but like scheduling calls be automated? And right now, I just use a calendar link. I provide that. And I still see a lot of people not do that. They're like typing in the
back
dates.
and forth, or let me copy my EA on this. And
Yes, you don't need to copy an EA. I don't understand that because there are, even Google has its own calendar link now.
It's like a weird power play. It's like you have 10 people. You don't need an EA to schedule this for you. Like,
I didn't understand. I don't have an EA. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to need one to schedule things for me. And if anything, like,
and EAs are great.
EAs
for
are great,
a lot of different reasons.
I don't need one because I also like control over my calendar. And if I set my calendar up correctly, there's this link that you can go and schedule. If something is urgent, I will move something, and I'm not having someone else or a robot decide that for me. That's fine. But all the little tasks of, here's the link, find the time that works best for you. That's automation, right? And so I think all these little nuances can be automated very quickly. But I think at the end of the day, if founders are heavily relying on a computer bot to tell them, we should look at this profile, like, have you taken the time to read through it and decide if this is someone you want to spend your time with? That part, just, I don't understand what they're trying to do. And I understand the pressure that founders are feeling, especially right now in the industry. But I think when you make shortcuts like this, that's when you start making mishires. And that is so much more costly to your business.
Yeah.
It's going to eat up more of your time and your money. So be really thoughtful about that.
So I have one last question for you. It's June 2026, just for context, if this gets listened to later. Do you think early stage founders, leaders, are they in a selling market from a candidate perspective or buying market? And by selling, I mean, are they out there selling and pitching their company of why they need to come work, why someone needs to come work for them, or, hey, do you want to come work for me? And are you buying me?
It's always a selling market for founders. Any founder that thinks I'm the shit, I'm the best, like come work for me, they're going to lose so much talent. Maybe some people will come to them because the revenue numbers are there or whatnot, but you want the people that want to work with you because you are the visionary and you've pitched them the idea. You've pitched them the vision. You see 5 years, 10 years past where the candidate can see it, right? So why wouldn't you be selling all the time?
Yeah. You know, it's like really funny. People think if they have an amazing product, like people should just want to come work for them, and they go into an interview and they're like, why do you want to work here? Versus like, this is why it's great to come work here. But when you look at some of the companies that are those darling companies, like look at what Meta was trying to do to go after engineers, or what Anthropic's doing to get the best talent. Like they are out there selling the hell out of their companies.
Not only that, they've got the money to back it up.
And they have the
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So like if those companies are doing it, like you have to just have the mindset of you have to do that too.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong of having pride for what you've built
Yeah.
and being very excited and, you know, to yourself as a founder, but you want to exude that excitement to everybody else. And I wouldn't understand why your ego would get in the way and be like, prove to me why you should be at my company.
Yeah.
There's so many other companies, like we've mentioned, these research labs that are going out to market, super excited, jazzed about what their future looks like, and are taking all of your candidates. So why waste that? It's not hard to go and pitch what you care so much about. There's really no.
I think for some it is.
I know. I'm saying it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
so.
it shouldn't be.
Cassie, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
On LinkedIn, Cassie Chao Leemans. I'm trying to post as much as I can. I love being able to share that there is an ease to utilizing AI to automate your life. I haven't done much outside of my work life because I do enjoy it so much, but just hit me up on there.
Something tells me in a few months you're going to start using AI to automate other things in your life.
Yeah,
too.
possibly.
Just optimize some time.
Yeah.
Any other like Substacks, any blogs or anything like that where they can catch you?
I've been blogging for Craft as well. It's really more geared towards our founders and our heads of talent. But if there's any ideas you want to ask about, I'm always happy to be posting about them as well.
And we'll make sure we link those in the description. But thank you so much. I feel like the thing that really stands out to me is the very definitive line you have between here is what AI can do and here is what a human can do. And I think as we get more into this world of AI, having that line is so important. So I think that's a really important lesson for people
Absolutely.
to take away today.
And I think the humans have to be the deciders of where that line is, because I'm sure 2 years from now, AI probably could make some pretty darn close, 99% decisions after learning the decisions that we've made. But what is the point of that?
Yeah, I know.
Awesome. Cassie, thanks so much for doing this with us.